When we thought about rebalancing our legacy gift, part of the discussion was, where can we have the biggest impact? Where can we make the most difference? What KCF provides is this organizational structure for hundreds of nonprofits in Kitsap County. What they've done is almost incubated, if you will, the ability of local nonprofits to grow, to become more stable, to secure their own funding going forward. I think that's why we went, oh yeah, this is a good decision, because we can have greater impact by rebalancing our estate.
Tom and Suzanne are wonderful. Suzanne is one of our board members. She's our vice chair now. She's been involved for about 3 years or so on the board and a member of Women's Giving Circle for long before that. They are such beautiful people because they came into the community and they immediately jumped in to help. They knew that they wanted to serve the community. They knew that they had skills that could help benefit the community, and then they ended up in exactly the places that they should be.
We moved out of Seattle over to Kitsap County about 13 years ago, and one of the primary reasons for our move is we wanted to feel a sense of community. We wanted to know our neighbors more. We wanted to be involved with nonprofit organizations. And since we were both moving toward retirement at that time, we saw that we would have more time and opportunity to do that.
I personally, I like big projects, and I found there was no shortage of big projects here in Kitsap County. You know, my first introduction was to Fishline. They were out of room. They wanted to bring in additional services and didn't have space for it. So they were talking about a project going out and raising $3 or $4 million, but that was right down my alley. I knew if you're going to lead a project like that, you're going to need a lot of help. And so somebody said, well, have you ever thought about Rotary? And so I got invited to Rotary, and immediately that was my group.
My passions are around helping women in particular. I'm wedded to the environment and I'm wedded to animals. So those became my first engagements in the community. And that opened the whole world to, oh my gosh, look how many nonprofits there are, how many amazing issues and needs there are in this community, and how KCF approaches being the support.
These organizations that we've gotten involved in, obviously giving time and talent. And we like to put money into the organizations where we actually are deeply involved.
We discovered that the organizations that we're particularly passionate about, the balance of our legacy wasn't quite aligned with where we wanted it to be. And, our children and grandchildren are very fortunate, and they have many opportunities that hundreds of people in Kitsap County don't have. And so we said, well, maybe we should be giving a little more to Kitsap County, because the impact and reach of what they can accomplish is greater than 2 or 3 organizations. I've been on the board for 3 years now, and I see how it works. And I see the quality of the decision making that goes on. I see how our mission is reinforced among all the board members.
So I guess the legacy is really the being able to say, we were part of that. We drove making that happen.
When I'm no longer here, what can I have put in place that will continue to support the needs of others?
So Craig was such a treat to meet, and I adore him so much. So he came in one day because his attorney recommended that they might want to think of putting together an endowment to make sure that the flowers in Poulsbo could be there forever, because he and his wife had a deep connection to and love for the flowers in the historic downtown Poulsbo. And so he came in and we started having a conversation about the fact that he used to run a pharmacy there and they owned a soda fountain there, and how they started planting the flowers. And you could just see in his eyes how much he loved Poulsbo and how much he missed his wife, frankly. And so he came to us and just asked if it was possible to help him make sure that downtown Poulsbo has flowers forever.
It was probably 1985, 84. The kids were I don't know, 10 and 11. We had been in the drugstore for less than 10 years. And so I said, I want to give to the community with flowers. Of course, that's one of her big passions. So she went to the high school shop class and had them build some boxes that they could hang. And they brought them down to our house in Paulsville, and she went to the nursery and bought all the flowers, and our whole patio was all filled with flowers. She planted them, and then got the city to hang the pots, and then found old George Thompson, God rest his soul. He had a big water tank out in his field, and he'd let me have that for the watering the flowers. So we put that in the back of the pickup, and I rigged a pump up to pump the water, and the family would go out after around dark when all the streets were clear. We did that almost nightly during the summertime for about 3 years. Sally battled breast cancer quite successfully for a while, for like 5 years, but finally it metastasized. Towards the end of her life, she was laying on the couch in our home. The girls were there, and we were talking about legacy and how we'll remember her always. I was teasing her about, we're going to have a great, I said, big ass funeral. And she didn't want a funeral at all, so that she could hardly talk. She understood everything, but she could hardly communicate. And she just said, "You better not, no funeral." So that was clear. So let's do an endowment for downtown flowers. And she went like this. Eyes got big, and she was really in favor of that. We talked to some people, some organizations that I just didn't get a good feel for. And matter of fact, I went to my attorney out of frustration and said, there's the Kitsap Community Foundation. After I talked to Tina for about 1 minute, I figured I was home. Didn't take long, and we figured out the right approach, the right program for Sally.
Oftentimes, folks will come in and they'll want to start talking about assets, but really the conversation always ends up going to values and then aligning the assets with the values that they have. And I feel so blessed to have these sacred conversations with people. This community is amazing. It's full of some of the most kind and giving and loving people. We jump in because it's the right thing to do, because we love this community and we want to do what we can to make it better.
Sally always loved Paulsville. She was many times said how lucky we are, how grateful we are to be here, and what a great way to give back. I know that she's smiling. I'm smiling. I hope the city's smiling.